Welcome to Code Crash Java. My name is Rahul. In previous tutorial, we have seen what is the usage of thread in real world and in which scenario we should use thread. Now, in this tutorial, we are going to cover implementing thread using runnable interface, using thread class, as well as the advantage of using runnable interface compared to thread class. Before going to writing some code to implement thread, let's first understand how this thread has been implemented in Java. So in this diagram you can see we can implement thread by using thread class or runnable interface. In thread class we have different kind of method like start, stop, exit. Thread class also implement runnable interface. And you can see runnable interface is a functional interface. That's mean in runnable interface we have only one method, that is abstract method, and the name of this method is run. So as thread class implement this runnable interface, it's override run method. If we don't provide any runnable reference, then it will do nothing. If we provide any runnable instance, then it will execute the run method and it will execute the code that we have written within the run method. When we call start method, it calls the run method internally. So whatever the functionality you have written in the run method, it will execute automatically. In our example, you can see that we are using lambda expression to create thread. Basically, we are overwriting this run method and provide our own functionalities. When we call the start method of our thread class, it will execute the functionalities that we have defined in our lambda expression. Now let's look at the code to understand the advantage using runnable compared to thread class. First, we will look how we can create thread by extending thread class, and later part of point we will see how we can create thread by implementing runnable interface. In previous example, we have created thread by using lambda expression. There are different ways to create thread in Java. In this tutorial, we will create thread by using thread class. All the functionalities that is related to thread is implemented in thread class. Thread class is provided in java.lang package. Now let's create a class which will extend thread class. And we can name this class as using thread. Now extend thread class. So in thread class there's one method which is known as run. This is basically a void method which return nothing. So to make it work we have to overwrite that run method. Let's create another property so that we can send email ID of our client. And also create setter getter method of this property. So to send the email, we have to again use our previous class, that is send email, where we have defined all the functionalities to send email. Now we have to create a one argument constructor, and in this constructor we will pass email ID. So this is our custom thread class. Now we have to define this custom thread class in main method. Before creating an object of our custom class, let's do the same thing that we have did in our previous example. That is, we have to create dynamic email, and here also I am using disposer email, and here again we are going to send 10 email to our client. So let's define that count in our class. Now we have to use for loop to create dynamic email. Now create an object of our new created class, that is using thread class. And now we have to pass email ID in our argument constructor. Also we have to store all the thread that we are creating in an array list. Now we have to start our thread. Again, to track the time, we have to log the watch. So we have defined that method in our email sender class. And we have to stop the watch to get the total execution of the time. And then we have to pass the thread array list. Now let's run this class. So as usual, it takes near about 1000 millisecond or 1 second as we are using thread. In this tutorial, we have learned how to create thread by extending thread class. Though extending thread class is really not a good practice. Why it is not a good practice? Let me explain you. We want to add sender email name when we are sending email to our client. That means let's say that we want to send email to John, alright? And we also want to know who sent this mail to John. And we want to implement that logic by using a new class. Let's say the name of the class would be sender name, right? But the problem is, as we know that in Java we cannot use multiple inheritance. So in this class we cannot define another class. Let's explain with an example. First, create the class. In this class, we will have only one properties which hold the sender name. Now create a constructor where we can pass the sender name. And also create getter and setter. Now we can see that we have created this sender class, but there is no way to extend that class in our using thread class, because we know that Java doesn't allow multiple inheritance. To overcome that problem, we implement runnable interface. Basically, this thread class also implement runnable interface. You can see that the thread class already implemented runnable interface. So if you look at the runnable interface, we can see that there is only one method, that is run, and this runnable method is a functional interface. That's why when we extend thread class, we have to override this run method. Basically, when we start thread by calling start method, it will execute whatever we have written inside the run method. That's why we need to always override this run method if we want to use thread class. This run method also defined in runnable interface. So instead extending the thread, we can directly implement runnable interface. Let's look how we can implement runnable interface and create our thread.